Namaste, Sat Shri Akal, Adabars, and good morning. I think it is still morning.
Oh no, it's
Are you able to? Is it okay? Yep. All right. So, thank you, Shekhar ji, for such an enlightening presentation. And in the very short time I have decided to focus on something that I have been thinking but have not explored much in my own work so far. So studying Kabir for so long, there have been many questions on my mind that have remained unanswered. And today, with Kabir lovers, I would like to explore one of them. I will remain focused on just what is called the signature line. As we know, in Bhakti poetry, in vernacular, because there was no copyright then, the only way to know to whom the poem belongs, you have to go to the last line of the poem where the name of the poet appears. And the famous signature line of Kabir, Kahat Kabir, Suno Bhai Sadho. That one has so much power, and I just want to discuss with you, what does it mean for him to say Suno Bhai Sadho? In exploring this, this is the last week of the semester, actually the year at the college, so it's extremely busy. My presentation is not so colorful. I only have the uh, painting of Kabir with other saints in the background here. And so let me begin. As Sachin reminded us at the beginning of the event, Kabir is a very special figure. He is a figure who doesn't fit anywhere. For example, you have so many other saints and poets who belong to one community or the other, and they speak from that position. Kabir is one we don't know as such, we don't know very much about any of the saint poets historically, but Kabir is specially one because nobody knows who his parents actually were. And how he was raised was also a very fluid situation. And in some ways, that in religious studies, there is this concept given by Victor Turner.
Keep speaking, yes,
Just 1 minute, sorry. Next one.
No, I think there's a duplication actually. Just 1 minute, sorry. Not this one, sorry. Just 1 minute, sorry.
So I just pushed this.
What, sorry. And this is.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would like to explore with you all is Kabir's call, Suno Bhai Sadho, in his time and ours. So as I was saying, Kabir is a figure who doesn't fit anywhere. And for that reason, he remains what is called a liminal figure. He is outside of the boundaries, but he's also looking in. So the people who are, according to, Kabir has said, "Pothi padi padi sab muhe, bayana pandit koi," but that's my profession, so I have to do it. But Victor Turner, an anthropologist, he has given this idea, explored this idea of liminality, where a person who is on the outside looking in has a better view of things than those people who are inside. And Kabir's liminality actually gives him very sharp insight into how the society of his time was functioning, and the so many questions he asked. He was a bold speaker, and his liminality also gave him that power. Rajnishji Osho had once said that Kabir, he's so common, like he's such an ordinary man that he can address anyone. If somebody sitting at the top of things has to look down, Kabir can see eye to eye, and therefore his speech is very direct. And therefore, this particular way of addressing is very important. And this question has been on my mind for many years, and now I'm exploring it for the first time. So his most frequent signature line is Kahat Kabir Suno Bhai Sadho. If you compare that signature line with many poets of his time and some later, one of the most famous poetess, everybody knows, Mirabai, she says, Mira ke Prabhu Giridharanagar. She joins her name with Giridharanagar in her signature line. Tulsidas ji says, Tulsidas Sada Hari Chera. Tulsidas, the disciple of Hari. Raidas ji says, Raidas Kahe. So his two contemporaries, Kabir's two Banarasis, Raidas and Tulsidas, they just put their names there. And Tukaram says, Tukamane. Tuka says. The poet whom I have studied at length, Narsi Mehta, he says, Bhane Narsayu. Narsayu says. But Kabir says, Suno Bhai Sadho. It's not just what I am saying. Lend me your ear. This is important. What I am saying. So he draws his audience directly into his poem by addressing the listener and saying, Suno Bhai Sadho. And he does not address his listener as anybody else. Sadho. So he is even putting more responsibility on the listener to be not just listening, but to participate and add to what he is saying. So he's at once giving a lot of respect to the listener, but also putting a responsibility on them. And therefore, it's a peculiar type of Panita, where the audience is invited into the poet's world in order to explore what he is doing. And therefore, this is a particular type of Panita that has attracted my attention for a long time. And this is the first time I'm exploring it. So, when he asks these questions, many of the questions that he asked, we saw in what Shekharji discussed. Kabir is not just a respondent. He's not just a teacher. He does not only lecture. He asks questions. And he asks questions in such a way that are so penetrating that one has to think about that. And the one thing that we see again and again, and which is very relevant for us today, is he is addressing and critiquing socially defined markers of identity. What he was doing, he directly says, "Oh Brahmin, what are you doing? Oh Mullah, what are you doing?" And so there is a direct address. He asks him, he compels the listener to listen to him and to his questions. And so the defined markers of his time, we'll see, I have chosen a few poems where this happens. He asks people, what do these markers really mean? Where do they lead us? Do they lead you to wherever you want to go? Does it make you superior or inferior? And by critiquing and attacking the markers of identity, he actually wants you to look inside. So looking inside comes after you reject the artificially created markers of identity. And this is something which is very relevant for us today because I'll go into it in just a minute. But there are several markers of different groups in his time. And then if you have those kind of markers, religious markers, he addresses mullahs, he addresses Brahmins, he addresses, sitting on the Kabir Chora, he is addressing everyone going by on his street. So he's questioning them. And what he directs everyone's attention to is very relevant for our own, the kind of identity markers that we all have as professionals, as religious followers, or as residents of a particular country, or belonging to any social group. But Kabir keeps drawing our attention to the fact that these are just markers. They may be useful for certain things, but ultimately they have no meaning. And so if the socially defined markers are not important, if the paths that have been chosen by certain people are not really the most important thing, then what is the nature of spiritual seeking or path of inner transformation? And how do we follow it? Shekharji mentioned Ulat Bhasi, which is upside down language, where things that generally seem paradoxical, they appear in two short lines or a poem where what does Ulat Bhasi do? It breaks your traditional logic, because you find something totally unexpected in his doha, and it breaks your logical theme, linear way of thinking, so that you can actually look at the deeper meaning of whatever topic you are exploring. And so I just want to, with that, I would like to read. I didn't have much time to put together such a nice presentation as with the pictures as Shekharji did. With your permission, I'll just read these are some of the best translations that are available by Linda Hess and Shukdev Singh, who belongs to Banaras and has studied Kabir all his life. So please allow me to read some of the poems, and then I will come back to the Banita, or the up and upside down language. Saints, I see the world is mad. If I tell the truth, they rush to beat me. If I lie, they trust me. I have seen the pious Hindus, rule followers, early morning bath takers, killing souls. They worship rocks. They know nothing. I have seen plenty of Muslim teachers, holy men, reading their holy books and teaching their pupils techniques. They know just as much. And posturing yogis, hypocrites, hearts crammed with pride, praying to brass, to stones, reeling with pride in their pilgrimage, fixing their caps and their prayer beads, painting their brow marks and arm marks, braying their hymns and their couples, reeling. They never heard of soul. The Hindu says Ram is his beloved. The Turk says Rahim. Then they kill each other. No one knows the secret. They burst their mantras from house to house, puffed with pride. The pupils drown along with their gurus. In the end, they are sorry. Kabir says, listen, saints, Suno Bhai Sadho. They are all deluded. Whatever I say, nobody gets it. It is too simple. So, what is simple is often ignored in a philosophical conversation, and Kabir goes right at it, drawing attention to what is simple and therefore most immediate and accessible. In another poem, he addresses a Qazi. Qazi, what book are you reading, lecturing on? Yak, 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 day and night. You never had an original thought. Feeling your power, you circumcise. I can't go along with that, brother. If your God favors circumcision, why don't you come out cut? If circumcision makes you a Muslim, what do you call your women? Since women are called man's other half, you might as well be Hindus. If putting the thread makes you Brahmin, then what does your wife put on? That Shudra is touching your food, Pandit. How can you eat it? Hindu, Muslim, where did they come from? Who started this road? Look hard in your heart. Send out scouts. Where is heaven? Now you get your way by force. But when it's time for dying, without Ram's refuge, says Kabir, brother, you will go crying. And the Ram he refers to is not the Ram of the Ramayana, but the inner Ram, the inner conscious that he consistently draws his listeners' attention to. So what we see in these poems, he directs attention to what he is saying by directly addressing the audience. He's, hey Kaji, hey Pandit, hey, listen to me. So sitting on that Kabir Chaura, he was able to gather around him a group of listeners whose attention he was drawing inward by cutting a lot of illusions that had been spread in the name of religion. And then, okay, if things are as they appear in the world of religions, if that is not really what it is about, then what is it about? Here, in order to draw attention to the inner world, Kabir uses ulatbasi or the upside down language because the logical language cannot express the depth of thought or the depth of experience that Kabir wants to draw attention to. And so, then in some of really couplets, which is the marvelous thing that Kabir has done, a lot of wisdom comes from pearl-like couplets and not in long poems where some of them are really, and I'm reading them all in English because I thought that it would be accessible also to the next generation. So he says, the singer never sings. The silent one sings always. The actor plays, he sees the show, a boundless of boundless love, still grows. He seeks his own sound, his own seed. This story can't be told. Without a cup, nectar is sipped. Streams swell with water. Kabir says he lives from age to age, who tastes the liquor of Ra. And so the singer never sings, the silent one sings. By using this kind of paradoxical language, which in linear fashion would not make any sense, by doing that, Kabir breaks the logical flow of things and draws attention to inner experience. And this has been one of the greatest strengths of Kabir. This is why he is so relevant even today. I'm just going to read a couple of more from which are some of my favorites. Drop falling in the ocean. Everyone knows. Ocean absorbed in the drop. A rare one knows. That upside down language, complete paradox, an ocean absorbed in a drop, which draws attention to everyone's consciousness, the brotherhood of everyone, and how every single person in the world is that drop that contains the ocean. He says, what can the poor road do? The travelers don't know where they are going. Leaving their own path, they stumble from wasteland to wasteland. Moving within limits, man. Moving without limits, saints. Dropping both limits and no limits, unfathomable thought. It is to thought that he invites us to share. And then I will not go into all of them. I'll just Kabir's question, why are they so relevant for our own times? Because in our own times also, the kind of communal tensions, wars, and useless arguments that we see, it is all they all draw, these arguments draw on nature of identity, because people are so attached to their identity. That's why the real thought gets lost. And in our own times, how relevant Kabir is in our own times, you can hear it in the words of a great philosopher of our times, Jiddu Krishnamurti. Jiddu Krishnamurti did not follow any religion. He actually did not want even to discuss things, because he, like Kabir, he always thought that where experience reaches, language starts to fade. And that's why Krishnamurti, when once Krishnamurti was asked, what is spirituality? And Krishnamurti responded, I say it is harmonious living. A man who is bound by authority, social or religious, surely he cannot live harmoniously. Surely that which is spiritual must be timeless. But the mind is the result of time, of innumerable influences, ideas, impositions. It is the product of the past, which is time. And can such a mind ever perceive which is timeless? So again, Krishnamurti speaks in a paradoxical language, and the paradoxical language, Uladbhasi, that Kekaji also referred to, is one of Kabir's greatest gifts to us. We can deep dive into his. So when we ask, what are the markers of identity now? How do we define ourselves in relation to them? Are we free? What does spirituality mean to us? We are so bound by identities even now that actually breaking those markers of identity would be the first step toward loving relationships and universal brotherhood, which we all are seeking. That is the greatest teaching Kabir has given us. These are not just abstract questions, they have practical implications in everyday life, and therefore, Kabir only stirs. That's the beauty of Kabir. Kabir only stirs us. He does not, by using ulat bhasi or upside down language, he forces you to think about what is absurd in one's behavior, in one's social setting. He says, so his words guide us to find wisdom from wherever or from whomever we can find. जाति न पूछो साधु की, पूछ लीजिए ज्ञान, मोल करो तलवार का, पड़ी रहे दो म्यान. But the answers must be found following, if we want to follow Kabir, everybody has to find the answers by themselves. And with that, I will with Melissa.